Hi, welcome to the International Space Station Flight Control Room. We're here for a distance learning network event. We're talking to 7th grade students with Creighton Middle School. Creighton meet Clayton, because here today we have NASA astronaut Clay Anderson. Clay had flown a 5-month tour, 152 days aboard the International Space Station on Expedition 15 and 16. In fact, you actually replaced Commander Sonny Williams, who's actually up on station for Expedition 15, and he also flew aboard the space shuttle during STS-131. Welcome, and thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
He also did, what, 3 spacewalks?
Well, total of 6.
Total of 6. Okay, so the first 3 were on Expedition 15 and 16. And so he has done it all, right? So we're ready for your questions, guys.
All right, we will go ahead and get started with Fantasia. Come on down.
Hi, my name is Fantasia, and here's my question. What do the patches on the astronaut uniform represent?
Hi, Fantasia. It's great to see you guys on the camera, by the way. The patches on the suits represent several different things. We have a flag to represent the country because now we're an international space station crew, so not everyone is from the United States. And then if you look at my shirt here, you see a brief version of our Expedition 15 patch, which is also symbolic of what we were trying to accomplish on station. So what happens is the crew designs those patches, and now we'll have a Soyuz patch that represents the crew going up on the Soyuz. We'll have a space station patch for the first crew that comes to station, and then, for example, with Sonny Williams now, she had a crew previously before she became commander, and now when she's commander, they have a new patch. So all the patches are symbolic of special activities that are going to occur on the mission that we're on, or things that represent the crew.
Thank you. Next question.
My name is Brianna, and my question is, can you build a fire in space?
Brianna, you can build a fire in space, but you have to be very, very careful when you do it. And what we do when we do experiments to see how fire behaves in microgravity, we have to enclose it in something that we call the microscience glove box. So we do flames, we do burn things, but it's very, very controlled. You don't want to have an out-of-control flame on an international space station because it's a very dangerous environment when you have flames going around. So everything's done with the ultimate in care.
Thank you.
Good question. Do we have another one?
Yes.
My name is Dylan, and I'd like to know, I read that Commander Sonny Williams ran a marathon while she was on the ISS. How can you run a marathon in space?
Hey Dylan, that's a great question. You know, I think Sunny's a little crazy when she runs a marathon. 26.4 miles is way too far for me to run. I'd rather ride a bike. But the way Sunny does it is that we have a treadmill on board the International Space Station. We actually have 2. One's kind of an older version, and one's the newer version. And Sunny rode on the new version, so she basically puts a harness on that holds her down to the treadmill, and she turns it on, and she simply begins to run. And when she ran, she started her run at the exact time that the folks started the marathon on Earth, and so she ran her 26.4 miles, and then she provides them her time. I think she might have even had an official number that she wore. So Sunny's a big runner, and she loves to do things like that.
And fitness, and actually on this particular mission she just completed a triathlon, so she actually used all 3 pieces of gym equipment on board the station. That involves a cycle, a stationary cycle, the treadmill that Clay described, and also an advanced resistive exercise device that simulates weightlifting here on Earth. That was actually to help simulate the swim portion of that triathlon. So yeah, Sunny is very big into her fitness, and fitness, as you know, is important here on Earth, but it's even more so in space.
Absolutely. And I still think she's crazy.
Good question.
My name is Lauren, and here's my question. When I do something that I like, it seems like time goes by fast. When you are doing a spacewalk, does it feel like 6 hours, or does it feel like it goes faster or slower?
Thank you, Lauren. That's a great question. I'm sure that you think when you're studying your homework at night that goes by really, really fast. But a spacewalk, you are so focused on accomplishing all the goals of that mission, of that spacewalk, and not making any mistakes, right? Making sure that everybody is kept safe, that all the equipment's protected, that you do the right thing in the amount of time that's allotted. So you're exactly right. It's a very enjoyable experience. It's mentally tough. It's not as physically difficult as it is when we train in the big swimming pool down here. But doing a spacewalk in outer space, it's a lot easier for your body, except that you have to focus and concentrate so much more. It's very difficult mentally. But the time does just sail by. You know, you'll think, holy cow, we've only been out here an hour, and they'll tell you you've been out there for 5 minutes. So it's quite a great experience. I hope you all get to do one someday.
Next question.
My name is Brianna. And my question is, what was the largest plant that has ever been grown at the space station?
Hey, Brianna, that's a great question. I think you're trying to get me to tell you that when I was on the space station, we tried to grow basil seeds and lettuce seeds. And they started out growing, and I ended up killing them all. So I feel really badly about talking about plants in space. But the Russians had an actual pea plant in their segment that grew to be quite tall, at least 12 inches. So we can grow plants in space, and it's very important as we think about going to a place like Mars or to an asteroid or to the moon, the ability to grow plants to have food to eat or to provide oxygen for us, which is what plants do, and they also absorb carbon dioxide. So those are all three good things that a plant can do for us, for astronauts on a space crew, and that's why we're looking at it so hard. So the biggest plant, I didn't see it, but they grew a pretty big pea plant in the Russian segment.
And while that pea plant was the largest to be grown in space, most recently, astronaut Don Pettit, who was aboard the International Space Station, spotted the zucchini, and the zucchini had a life of its own. Actually, you can go online and read about that. Either go to blogs.nasa.gov, or you can follow the zucchini on Twitter, believe it or not, at astrozook, and learn about exactly growing plants in space as well. Good question. You have another one?
Thanks. Yes, Matt?
My name is Matthew, and my question is, have you seen any hurricanes or typhoons from space? Can you do anything to help Earth when you see one?
Hey, Matt, that's a great question. When I flew on the space station, I flew between June and November of 2007, and believe it or not, those are the exact months of hurricane season. So it starts on June the 1st and it ends on the 30th of November. And I saw many, many hurricanes. It was very cool because I saw, you may hear the weathermen talk about a tropical wave coming off the coast of Africa. So I saw those. And then as they moved across the Atlantic Ocean toward the United States, I would see them develop into a tropical depression, and then into a tropical storm, and then into a full-blown hurricane. And it actually turns out that I saw at least 3 Category 5s, the biggest, most dangerous hurricanes you can see. 2 of them were called Hurricane Dean and Hurricane Felix. And in actuality, Hurricane Dean caused the STS-118 crew, who came to visit me while I was on the space station, they had to leave early because Hurricane Dean was a Category 5 and it was bearing down on Houston, Texas, and all the folks in the mission control were worried that the crew might not be able to get home and protect their families. So what we ended up doing was cutting the mission short. We cut 2 of our spacewalks short as well so that we could get things put together and they could come home. So a hurricane is absolutely beautiful from outer space. It's safer to see it from outer space, but you really worry about the folks who are beneath that hurricane here on Earth, especially if it's your family. And being from South Carolina, you guys know that hurricanes can come and hit the coast of South Carolina as well. So we need to be very careful with those.
And I actually recall Hurricane Dean as it was, and you guys were on a spacewalk at the time. We captured video, so you guys can go to YouTube as well if you want to see that. Just search Hurricane Dean, and you can see that video that Clay actually witnessed while he was there aboard the International Space Station. That was a great question. Next.
Kara?
My name is Kara, and I'd like to know, is there such a thing as sports in space?
Hey, Kara, you're right up my alley with sports in space. When I lived on the space station, I took a college football from the University of Nebraska, which is where I'm from, and I had a needle to inflate it, and I would kick field goals at the camera. So just like if you look behind my head right now, you'll see that there are camera views on board the International Space Station. So sometimes we would set those cameras up to look inside the lab module. So what I would do is tee up the football, because in zero gravity I didn't need a football tee, and I would just kick it toward the camera, and then I'd look at the camera and I'd signal touchdown as if the field goal was good, and I asked the ground team to keep score, but they really didn't want to play with me. they were too busy doing real work. But I had a baseball on board that I would pitch and toss and catch and hit with a bat that I fashioned from some equipment on station. And I also had a Nerf basketball and a Nerf basketball hoop. And Fyodor Yurchikin, who is my commander, he and I, we didn't play pig, we played ISS. And the only way you could win ISS was you had to be really good at banking the Nerf ball off of the ceiling or the wall to get it to go through the basketball hoop.
There you have it, creative play in space. Next question.
Okay.
My name is Anna Kay, and my question is, ever get annoyed with your cabin mates?
Anna Kay, I had great crewmates. Oleg Kotov and Fyodor Yurchikin were 2 Russian cosmonauts. They were great guys. We had children that were approximately the same ages, so we often talked about our kids. We really didn't do any, well, I don't know if I did anything that aggravated them. I probably did. But the only things they would really do to aggravate me was they teased me a lot. I would watch Nebraska football games from space, and on Saturdays, Nebraska didn't have a really good year that year, so Oleg would float down and he'd ask me, how's the football going? And then I'd say, oh, it's going okay, because it was early in the game, and then he'd float down later and he'd say, hey, the game's not going so good, huh? And he could tell by my face. So they liked to tease me about being an American who loved American football, but for the most part, we got along very, very well. They were my space brothers. Our nickname was Три Musketieri, which is Russian for 3 Musketeers. So I cherish that friendship with them, and they're actually here in Houston as we speak, training for their next flights.
Very good question. Do we have another one?
My name is Blair, and here's my question. When do you consider it night in space, since there are 16 sunrises and sunsets every day?
Well, we don't have great windows in the station. We do have the cupola now that we can go into and look outside, but we really don't have night and day per se. You're correct in that we have 16 sunrises and sunsets. So if you count that as your day or your night, we do have 16 day-night cycles. But from a crew perspective, you're simply going by the clock. So you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, Greenwich time. You work all day and you go to bed about 10:30 at night, Greenwich time. So you really don't think about whether it's night or whether it's day in terms of sunlight and darkness. You think about it in terms of clock time. So that's kind of how we cope with that in space.
So when you go to bed, it's night.
Yeah, it's night.
Despite
it could be
going
daylight
over.
outside,
Exactly.
but it's night for us because it's nighttime.
Right.
And if we were to sleep in a module that had windows, we would have to block those windows with something, because it's very unnerving when the sun hits the window when you're deep in your sleep, and it might wake you up. So.
And I imagine you don't have any trouble falling asleep when it's nighttime after a long, busy day aboard the International Space Station. Great question. Do we have any more?
Hi, my name is Janika, and here's my question. What is the most interesting thing you've seen in space?
Oh, that's tough. The most interesting thing I've seen in space, I would have to say, when I was out on my, second spacewalk of my life, I was able to fly over a place on the Earth called Dubai, and you guys can probably go look at that on a map. And there are resorts that they're building out in the ocean off the coast of Dubai. They're called the Palm Resorts and the World Resort. And the World Resort is shaped like the continents on Earth. So you have North and South America, Australia, Asia, Africa, Antarctica. And then they also have the Palm Resorts that are shaped like a big palm frond. So you should go look that up on the internet and see if you can see pictures of that. But when I saw that for the first time from outer space, it was absolutely breathtaking. And I got to see it again when I flew to space again on STS-131. We were out on our spacewalk, and my partner Rick Mastracchio had never seen them. And it just so happened we were waiting on the front of the station, just hanging out, and we looked down at my feet, and there they were. So Rick got to see them on his spacewalk with me.
Very good. And not to commit you to do anything extra, but Clay is also on Twitter, and you can follow him at AstroClay, and he does have a little thing he does, Clay's Pick of the Day, and perhaps he might tweet a photo or two of maybe Dubai or a hurricane or something. Again, not to commit you to do something
No,
extra,
I
but
can do
maybe
that,
you
and
can
maybe
do that.
I'll even see if I can find where Creighton Middle School is in South Carolina and see if I took a picture of that for
There you go. So guys, go to Twitter and follow him on Astro_Clay, and maybe you can see those photos that he's talking about today. Next question.
Hi, my name is Yatoa,
and here's my question. When you come back to Earth, how long did you stay in bed before your body gets strong again?
Well, when I came back to Earth, you tell I didn't even go to bed for a long time. That was one of the longest days of my life. We had awakened on the shuttle, right, by our shuttle clock, which is just like the space station. So we awoke that morning, and we had a long day to get ready to come home and land. And then once we landed, I still didn't get to go to sleep, even though it would have been our nighttime to go to sleep on the space station or the shuttle. I had to stay up. I had to go into a room at the Kennedy Space Center, and I had to do a bunch of experiments where they were taking data on me. And so by the end of the day, the real day on Earth, it was 8:31. I remember my clock had the digital numbers 8:31, and that's all I remember because I just passed out at that point. So that was the first time I got to go to bed on my first day home.
Next question.
And I was really tired.
My name is Nicholas, and here's my question. What type of protective suit do astronauts wear to keep them safe and warm from the space environment?
Good question. Inside, we don't need to wear a suit. We can wear shirt sleeve and shorts if we'd like, because it's a balmy 72 degrees with 55% humidity, slight breeze from the south, and no clouds. If we go outside, though, that's a great question, because anytime you're outside, it's a vacuum, right? There's no pressure, there's no oxygen, there's no nothing. So everything you need to survive has to be contained in that little spaceship that we call our spacesuit. So the one that you see the astronauts in come out of the space station is the white suit, and that's called our extravehicular mobility unit, which is basically a spacewalk suit, but it has the ability to keep us warm or keep us cool. It has water for us to drink, and it also protects us from meteoroids that could hit us. It protects us from the cold and the hot of deep space, and it provides us oxygen to breathe and gets rid of our carbon dioxide. So, great question. It's very, very important that we are protected by our own little spaceship whenever we go outside, because space is a really, really dangerous environment.
Very good question. Do we have time for another one?
Hi, my name is Christian. Here's my question. What does the Earth look like from space?
Christian, when I flew on the space station, we always had to look through round circular windows. So it looks simply like the Earth through a circle. But now we have this cupola. And imagine that you can crawl into a big glass bowl and look any direction at the Earth. It's amazing. You can actually see about a 3,000-mile arc of the horizon of the Earth. And as you fly over Florida, and as you fly over the Midwest, or you fly over Saudi Arabia, you can see so many cool things. The colors are beautiful. The clouds are beautiful. Everything is gorgeous. And it's very hard to describe that view, but it's actually the most beautiful thing you could imagine to see.
Very few people have ever been able to see that, so it's, I guess, a real honor and a privilege that you were able to do that.
I'm very blessed.
Good question. Do we have another one?
Hi, my name is Lane, and I was wondering, do y'all use a microwave and cell phones in space?
I wish we had a microwave, dude. That would be a really great way to heat our food. We don't have a microwave per se, but we do have a little food warmer that's like a suitcase that you put all your food bags in, and then you turn on the switch and it kind of electrically heats up your food. The Russians have a different version, but it's the same idea, and they can put their cans in a slot, and then those cans heat up through the electricity. Cell phones, we actually do have the capability to talk as if we had a cell phone. We have a computer program that takes our phone signal, and I wear a headset just like I have on today, and then I can punch in the telephone number on the computer, and then that signal goes to the satellites in space, comes down to the Earth, and then it's converted to a cell phone signal, and my wife and family had that cell phone on them, and whenever I called, it said NASA, and my wife always knew it was me, and so she chose not to pick up the phone oftentimes, but we had the opportunity to have lots of great conversations together as we chatted from outer space down to Earth.
Do we have another? Yes.
Hi, my name is Ernestine, and here's my question. What do you put inside your drinks?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. We drink a lot of water, coffee, tea, and fruit-flavored drinks when we're on the space station. So all of it's, we don't really put anything into our drinks. It's already done for us. So all we have to do is take the packet, which has all the tea bag, or it has the coffee grounds, or it has the Tang, or the fruit-flavored drink. We add the water, shake it up, and just drink it down. So we don't have anything, the ability to add something to that packet is not available to an astronaut once he's in space. It's already done for us. It's pre-prepared, pre-packaged, kind of like drinking a Capri Sun, something like that.
And you get that from that potable dispenser. That's how you get the water out and into your
Right. There's a
packet
machine
pouch.
on the station that we stick a needle through the hole in the pouch, and then we push a couple buttons and the water fills up the pouch, and then you pull it off and it's sealed, and you add a little straw that has a clip on it to pinch it off, and then you shake it up good and you squeeze it and mix it up really well so that it all gets dissolved, just like you do on Earth if you mix some Nestle's Quicken milk or whatever, and then you drink it down.
Right. And so if you've been following along the activities on board the space station now, you would know that the Commander Sonny Williams and also Hoshide had recently replaced the filter for that dispenser that he is talking about. Good question. We have another one?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Rob, and here's my question. Why don't you just build some more Robonauts to go up in space so you don't have to worry about your health?
Now that's a really, really, really good question, but the bottom line answer is money. If we had the ability to build the robots to do all the things an astronaut could do, that would be effective. It would be safer to keep a human being from having to go outside in this nasty environment that we call outer space. But a robonaut or a robot can't necessarily see things and think of alternative solutions like a spacewalker can, for example. Imagine that a robot's out there and he gets to a bolt that he can't undo, just like we had recently on our spacewalks, and maybe he can make his wrench turn harder or turn faster or whatever, but he can't think of ways to cleverly clean out the hole or to change the way he's doing something to make it available to him to actually complete the task. So the ability for a human to think and to reason is one of the important realities of why we want humans in space. Astronauts can do many things. They can do many good things for us. They can scout ahead and look at landing sites on the moon or in an asteroid or Mars, and those will be excellent uses of robotic technology, but there are just some things that a robot can't do that a human can do. And when you couple that with the expense that's required to build a small army of robots to do astronaut work outside the station, we're moving in that direction, but it's going to take a little bit of time and some more money.
Yeah, and I think we've been able to demonstrate just the usefulness of robots or robotics. Even today, we had the deployment of the small satellites that were launched using the remote manipulator system. This is the robot arm, the Japanese robot arm, outside of Kibo, which is the Japanese experiment module. And then also they'll be spending, actually Sunny and Hoshide are actually doing a training session today using the robotics workstation where they will use the station arm to eventually grapple the Dragon spacecraft that is scheduled to launch this Sunday. So you guys come back and watch NASA TV. You can watch it here live beginning at 6 p.m. Central Time. And you can see robotics in action eventually when that spacecraft arrives to the space station. It is scheduled to arrive on October the 10th. So obviously there's several ways and reasons to have robotics work with us, but obviously we need humans to be involved in that space exploration as well. Good, very good question. Do we have any more questions?
Good homework assignment for Creighton Middle School.
Any more questions? One of the questions that a lot of the students had was, what was the scariest thing for you being an astronaut and being on the station or in space?
The scariest thing, I think, was when I woke up one night and saw Oleg in his underwear. But that's okay. No, I'm just joking. They train the scared out of us. They train the fear out of us. You're so ready to do all the things that you need to do. Your mind is so focused on step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, that oftentimes, if there were fear to be had, you're not really thinking about it. You're focused on something else. For example, when I opened the hatch for the very first time in July of 2007 to go out on my very first spacewalk, I wasn't scared at all. There was no fear. What I thought when I looked out into the blackness of space was, I was born to be here right now doing this. And I don't know if everyone experiences that feeling or thinks that way, but for me there was no fear. There might have been a little anxiety, right, about I don't want to make a mistake, I don't want to screw up, I hope everything goes well, but there was never any fear involved. And to follow up on that, I actually thought about death more the second time I flew on STS-131 as we were preparing for the final days of the mission and getting ready to launch. That was when I wondered, was I cheating death? You know, had I had my shot on Expedition 15, and should I still be going up on STS-131? And it's just something you and your family have to grapple with.
Any other questions?
I have a question. You're going to change the name of your school to Clayton Middle School?
We'll consider it.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, Clay and Amiko, we would like to thank you so much for joining us today. I know taking time out is very difficult, especially how busy you guys are there in Mission Control, monitoring the space station. And we'd like to thank you. Actually, Creighton Middle School, do you have any final words that you'd like to say to Clayton?
We just want to say thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. It's a pleasure talking to you guys. Have a great day. This is Mission Control Houston.